realism and how it translates into video games is a funny thing. Sometimes it undoubtedly makes a game better, pulling players in and immersing them deeply in the subject matter. But sometimes it can backfire when the not-so-entertaining aspects of simulation are present. EA's new take on skateboarding, Skate, definitely grinds the line of realism, but which camp does it ultimately fall into?
Yeah, man, I own this spot.
You ain't got nothing, homie.
One thing that no one can deny is that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise has laid down the foundation of how extreme sports games are designed. We need no further evidence than Skate, as its basic architecture is very much like Activision's long-running series. You begin by creating a skater from a fairly anemic set of customization options, choosing from 3 different dispositions, and hitting the mean streets of fictitious San Vanalona, looking to grind any rail, curb, or lip stupid enough to show its edge. From here, you skate around the massive city looking for pros who will give you one of a handful of different objectives to complete. Sometimes it's a matter of landing a specific sequence on a predetermined set of objects, sometimes it's landing a set of tricks and scoring a set number of points in a given time limit, and other times you'll be racing down dangerous streets at a breakneck pace. None of it is out of the ordinary if you fiddled around with any of the Tony Hawk games. The one major change to the design is how your character is handled. In the Tony Hawk games, your skater gets better as the game progresses, with stats bumping up in a number of categories as you complete objectives. In Skate, the skater you begin the game with is the skater you end the game with. Instead of the virtual athlete improving, it's up to you to improve as a player. It's an interesting dynamic, and it's certainly realistic, but it also quells the motivation to keep plowing through the objectives.
Hey, why don't you go grab him, Molly?
Instead of boosting attributes, you get cash that you can spend on new gear like boards, trucks, wheels, and clothing. When you complete your first pro challenge, you'll get your first board sponsor. Just choose wisely because you'll be riding that company's board for the duration of the game, and there's no ability to switch alliances and ride for someone new. Eventually, you'll obtain sponsors for the rest of your equipment as well, and gain bonus cash for using their equipment during challenges. But the entire system is made moot by the copious amounts of cash you earn that you can spend in the shops to buy whatever you want. The real object of the game is to get coverage in either Thrasher or Skateboarding magazine. Getting coverage opens up new challenges for new sponsors, and the process repeats until you've won X Games Gold. Just like the real sport, Skate is really more about the experience than accomplishing goals. This ideal carries over to the multiplayer options. While there are goal-oriented modes like Best Trick, the most engaging and rewarding option is Free Skate, where it's just you and 5 friends sessioning a spot. The other cool online feature allows you to upload videos of yourself playing the game to the official Skate website, where they can be viewed and rated by other players. It's a neat feature, but the editing tools are about as simple as they come, and there's no ability to grab multiple clips and cut them all together into one master opus with a soundtrack. Just like the majority of skaters out there sacrificing their skin and bone for personal glory, Skate is more about self-expression than satisfying predetermined notions of what makes a great skater. Goal-oriented people will likely tire of it as the objectives become routine rather quickly, but it does manage to capture the essence of the sport. If you've had any experience with the Tony Hawk series, you're going to have to get over a number of things before playing Skate. First of all, Skate is grounded fairly close to reality. Though your avatar can ollie a good 5 or 6 feet on flat ground, which is incredibly realistic, you won't find yourself blunt sliding across power lines. Skate is all about real abilities and timing. The good news is that the base controls feel so natural and real that plank riding players will get just as big of a rush out of doing a stylish crooked grind down a kinked handrail as they would landing a 90-foot triple flip stalefish grab to Smith grind from the top of a skyscraper in the Tony Hawk games. For the average video game player, this likely won't be the case, which is where the issues come up. With the exception of pushing and grabs, most of the control scheme is handled with the analog sticks. The new Flick-It controls have you mimicking the action of a real skateboard to pull off tricks. For instance, to ollie, you hold the right analog stick back and then quickly shove it forward. Likewise, you move the stick in a natural motion for pulling off kickflips, shove-its, and 360 flips, with the stick's initial position representing foot placement on the board, and then the stick's movement representing how the feet manipulate the board to perform the trick. It's easily the most realistic control scheme ever incorporated into a skateboarding game, but it comes with a lot of limitations. There are absolutely tons of tricks that are completely absent. One of the main staples of street skating, the pressure flip, is nowhere to be found. The same can be said of inverts, no complies, bonelesses, dark slides, and a rash of other skating standards. Another issue is how long it takes to pull off tricks. Having to manually ollie up every little curb will try your patience. Adding to the frustration is trying to intentionally pull off similar tricks like the 360 flip versus the 360 shove it. The commands are so similar that it's almost impossible to pull off one or the other intentionally. Considering some objectives require you to land specific tricks down rails at high rates of speed, it can make you want to focus your controller, which in skateboarding terms means break it in two. Then there's the camera angle the game wants you to play from. It's obvious that it's going for that skate video feel with a low angle that looks up at the action. The problem is that you can't see what's in front of you sometimes. Whether it be a pedestrian, a pole, or just the object you're trying to trick on, your skater will often block your perspective. It's not all about benches, ledges, and handrails though. You'll also get a chance to skate vert, and this has to be the most annoying part of the game. Again, it attempts to go for realism, requiring you to pump transitions with the left analog stick to maintain speed. No matter how experienced the player is, it's hard to get a handle on. What people don't realize about skating is that for every hot trick that appears on tape, there were 200 failed tries before it. It's an incredibly difficult sport that rarely gets its due. This aspect of the sport comes shining through in Skate, and is made obvious by the inclusion of session makers that allow you to begin your run from the same spot every time. The catch is that it's hard to imagine the average player enjoying hitting the same bench to handrail combo several dozen times, hoping to nail a trick. The presentation in Skate has its ups and downs. The animation is impressive most of the time, and despite it providing some barriers to gameplay, the camera angle really gets you right into the action. There are no hokey cinemas with jackass moments, and overall, there have been some classy decisions made during development, especially with the audio. The soundtrack is right in the wheelhouse of most skaters, and you can actually use the 5.1 surround sound to track down hotspots to skate. There are also big chunks of San Vanalota that pop into view, odd loading times, some frame rate hiccups, and some physics issues where skaters act a lot more like Spider-Man than human beings. But on the whole, it's a slick-looking game that manages to make average street scenarios bristle with urban essence. Your enjoyment while playing Skate will be directly proportional to how you play it. If you attempt to plow through the goals, you're going to come across a few of them that might get your blood boiling. And then there's an incredibly steep learning curve to overcome. But if you just want to cruise around, popping ollies and laying down grinds, or session a spot to squeeze every last line out of it, it's easily the most realistic representation of the sport yet. Just be sure to play it for the joy, and not for the achievement points.